Everything in Landman Season 2 has been slowly building toward one moment, and the trailer for Episode 5 finally cracks the tension wide open, because Tommy Norris is about to walk straight into the lion's den, and this time, the danger isn't just business, it's personal. The new footage confirms what we all feared. Galliano isn't done playing with Tommy, Cammy's entire company is hanging by a thread, and the Norris family drama is spiraling into something no one is ready for. Episode 4 might have softened the edges with emotion and family secrets, but Episode 5 snaps us right back into the ruthless oil world pressure cooker where every handshake hides a threat and every deal has a price. And judging by the trailer, Tommy is seconds away from paying that price with his life. In Section 1, we have to talk about how Episode 5 throws Tommy into a situation he has tried to avoid since the first moment Galliano stepped into the picture. The trailer opens with a cold reminder that Cammy's future depends entirely on a man Tommy hates down to his bones. And yet, despite everything he knows, despite all the warnings his gut is screaming at him, he still chooses to step into Galliano's office. Because Cammy is running out of options, and because Tommy cannot stomach the idea of watching another person lose everything the way his own family once did. The emotional weight from Episode 4 follows him like a shadow. He's still carrying the burden of his mother's past, the guilt from a childhood that shaped every part of the man he became, and now he adds Cammy's survival to that mountain on his shoulders. The trailer shows just how conflicted he is. One moment he's telling Cammy to walk away to find any other route, and the next he's the one opening the door to Galliano's world of threats disguised as negotiations. It's almost tragic how predictable Tommy's self-sacrifice has become. He always chooses the hard road, the risky road, the road that puts him in danger, and once again he steps onto it without hesitation. But the real twist here is Galliano's demand. He didn't want the company. He didn't want the deal. He wanted Tommy specifically. That tells us everything. This isn't business. This is a trap wrapped in a contract. And the second Tommy sits down, the camera doesn't need to show us guns or threats or anything dramatic. The tension is enough. You can feel the danger in the silence, because Galliano acts like a man who already knows he has the upper hand. He watches Tommy like a predator waiting for the right moment to bite. The trailer even hints at a moment where Tommy realizes he might not walk out of that meeting alive, but he pushes through anyway because Cammy's desperation hits too close to home. She's grieving her husband, she's drowning in debt, and she's terrified of losing the last thing he built. When she breaks down in tears in front of Tommy, the entire tone of the episode shifts. This isn't about a business deal anymore. It becomes a fight for survival. And Tommy, being Tommy, can't walk away from someone who feels abandoned, because that's the wound he's been carrying since childhood. Meanwhile, the Norris family storyline takes a quiet but heartbreaking turn in the background. The trailer briefly shows Tommy's father struggling again, this time with something that looks worse than just age or exhaustion. His vision is fading, his balance is slipping, and the weight of the years is catching up with him faster than anyone expected. After Episode 4 revealed the tragedy of Tommy's past, Episode 5 seems ready to show the tragedy of his future. And honestly, it feels like Taylor Sheridan is preparing us for something devastating. Every shot of the father feels like a countdown. Every line he speaks feels like a goodbye wrapped in fatherly advice. It's crushing, because the Norris family only just began to feel whole again, and now it feels like time itself is becoming their biggest enemy. And then there's Cooper, poor Cooper, who the trailer shows trying so hard to prove himself that he edges dangerously close to repeating the same mistakes young, broken Tommy made. When Tommy tells him he still has a lot to learn, it's not harsh. It's a warning from a man who already lived through the consequences. But Cooper's pride, his confusion, and the pressure from his father push him into taking risks he clearly isn't ready for. It's impossible not to draw comparisons to Jimmy from Yellowstone at this point. Both of them are good men with big hearts who get swallowed by situations they aren't prepared to navigate. And in Episode 5, it looks like Cooper's desperation might create a new problem right when Tommy is already drowning in old ones. Altogether, Section 1 sets the foundation for Episode 5 as the moment everything snaps. Tommy is emotionally stretched thin. Cammy is one deal away from losing everything. Cooper is spiraling into reckless territory. Tommy's father is fading fast. And Galliano? He's watching all of this like a man who knows exactly when to strike. The trailer promises high tension, emotional collisions, and the kind of danger that doesn't always show up with guns. It shows up with signatures, lies, and quiet threats. And if Episode 5 delivers what the trailer hints at, then Tommy Norris is heading straight toward his most dangerous hour yet. If Section 1 set the emotional and psychological pressure surrounding Tommy, then Section 2 drives us straight into the unsettling reality of what Episode 5 is truly building toward. A collision between loyalty, desperation, and the kind of corporate danger that doesn't explode loudly. It poisons slowly. The trailer makes it painfully clear that Cammie's situation has reached a point of no return. She isn't bargaining anymore. She's pleading with fate. Everything from her thinning patience to the rare cracks in her usually tough exterior tells us she's cornered. And when she breaks down in front of Tommy, insisting that Galliano is her only chance to keep the company alive, the urgency becomes suffocating. She isn't exaggerating. She's telling him the raw truth. Losing the company would be the final blow after her husband's death, and the weight of that fear practically vibrates off the screen. It forces Tommy into a role he never asked for: protector, negotiator, and emotional anchor for someone who's barely holding it together. And even though he warns her that Galliano is bad news, even though his instincts scream that this deal is a trap, he walks toward it anyway because he refuses to let another person drown while he stands on the shore. It's painfully reflective of the childhood moment he confessed in Episode 4 when he tried to save his mother and instead got punished for it. He couldn't save her then, and that trauma follows him like a ghost in Episode 5. So when Cammie looks at him with fear and hope tangled together, Tommy chooses the same path he always does, the dangerous one. But what makes Episode 5 even more compelling is how the trailer hints at something far bigger than just a risky business deal. Galliano doesn't just want control of Cammie's project, he wants to break Tommy's confidence. His condition, demanding Tommy handle the deal personally, reveals that this is psychological warfare disguised as partnership. Galliano isn't just a villain, he's a strategist, the kind of man who studies his opponents before striking. And from what we've seen, he's studied Tommy thoroughly. He knows Tommy acts from guilt, from loyalty, from a desire to fix things that were broken long before he was old enough to understand them. That's exactly the type of man a predator like Galliano loves to corner. The trailer doesn't show the exact conversation between them, but the energy is unmistakable. There's a moment where Tommy looks like he's listening, but his jaw tightens ever so slightly, as if he's realizing too late that agreeing to this meeting wasn't bravery. It was walking willingly into a trap. And Galliano, with all his smug confidence, sits across from him like he already owns the outcome. It's chilling, because Tommy has faced danger before, but never in a situation where the weapon is the contract in front of him and the bullets are the clauses hidden in the fine print. Galliano doesn't need to threaten him with guns or violence. Men like him destroy their enemies with signatures, not fists. Meanwhile, the Norris family tension quietly builds towards something that feels inevitable and heartbreaking. Tommy's father, who represents everything grounding and traditional about the family, is visibly declining faster than anyone expected. In Episode 4, his presence was emotional but stable, a reminder of the roots Tommy has tried so hard to ignore. But Episode 5 shows us a different picture. His hands shake slightly. His eyes squint even in daylight. His steps falter in ways that suggest the problem isn't just age, it's something deeper, something scarier. The trailer shows him brushing off help, insisting he's fine, but that behavior is exactly why fans are worried. It mirrors the classic Taylor Sheridan pattern: show strength, deny weakness, and then collapse at the worst possible moment. And since Tommy only just brought him home, the timing feels deliberate, almost cruel. Episode 5 is quietly preparing the emotional blow that fans won't be ready for. And Tommy, already stretched thin by Cammie, Galliano, and Cooper, may be forced to confront the fear of losing another parent just when he finally opened the door for family to matter again. Speaking of Cooper, he's spiraling in a direction that mirrors another tragic Sheridan character from a different world, Jimmy from Yellowstone. The similarities are too strong to ignore now. Like Jimmy, Cooper wants to prove himself so badly that he keeps ignoring the advice of people who genuinely care about him. Tommy's warning in the trailer, "You've still got a lot to learn," hits like a father-son moment, even if Cooper doesn't see it that way yet. Cooper hears criticism where Tommy is offering protection. He sees limits where Tommy sees danger. And that misunderstanding pushes him toward reckless decisions he isn't equipped to handle. The trailer hints at a moment where Cooper looks frustrated and overwhelmed, possibly after a deal or a plan goes sideways. He feels overshadowed by Tommy's legacy and labeled by his youth. Instead of slowing down, he speeds up, which is exactly how characters like him end up in situations that change everything. His storyline feels like a ticking time bomb, and episode 5 might be the moment the fuse gets lit. At the center of all these spiraling storylines stands Tommy Norris, who carries the emotional burden of an entire cast without ever asking for it. The trailer paints him as a man caught between two collapsing worlds, Cammy's business falling apart and his family falling apart with it. He's the bridge holding everything together, and episode 5 seems determined to shake the foundations beneath him. Tommy has always been a character defined by quiet strength. He doesn't shout, he doesn't panic, he doesn't break down. But the trailer shows cracks forming in that calm exterior. His eyes look heavier. His voice has a rough edge. His hesitation lingers just a fraction longer than usual. These subtle changes matter because they tell us that episode 5 is going to push him closer to the breaking point than ever before. And if the trailer is anything to go by, the decisions he makes in this episode will shape the rest of the season. What truly elevates episode 5 into dangerous territory is how the trailer hints at a shocking power shift forming quietly in the background, one that no one, especially Tommy, is prepared to confront. While the spotlight is undeniably fixed on his risky confrontation with Galliano, something far more subtle and insidious is unfolding among the secondary players, creating a ripple effect that threatens to destabilize the entire operation. In the oil world, it's never just the main players who determine the outcome. It's the ones standing slightly off to the side, quietly nursing their own ambitions, insecurities, and grudges. And episode 5 seems to understand that perfectly. The trailer gives us brief but meaningful glimpses of characters who have been stewing in the shadows, watching the chaos unfold, waiting for the perfect moment to assert their influence. What's chilling is how composed they look. Almost as if Tommy's struggle with Galliano is exactly what they needed to make their own moves without anyone noticing. It's a classic Taylor Sheridan technique. Distract us with the obvious danger, only to blindside us with the danger we didn't see coming. One of the most unsettling hints revolves around the offshore project itself. Cammy sees it as her lifeline, the only thing that can keep her company afloat. But episode 5 introduces the possibility that this project might attract more attention than she bargained for. The trailer includes a line, quick, easy to miss, that suggests someone else has been monitoring the situation. Someone who stands to benefit if the Cammy-Galliano partnership blows up in flames. That alone injects a whole new layer of tension. It raises the question, if Galliano is the obvious villain, then who is the hidden one? Because in the world of Landman, the most dangerous threats are always the ones standing quietly behind the curtain. And Tommy, who is already walking into Galliano's trap, may not realize that another trap is being set in the background. The more desperate everyone becomes, the more opportunities open up for betrayal. And with emotions running high after episode 4's revelations, episode 5 could easily become the turning point where loyalty starts cracking and personal agendas slip to the surface. Meanwhile, Tommy's internal struggle is far from over. Episode 4 may have finally forced him to speak the truth about his childhood, but episode 5 forces him to confront what happens after a truth like that comes out. The Norris family house is no longer just a home. It's a battlefield of memories and responsibilities. His father's declining health becomes a symbol of everything Tommy tried to outrun. Every time his father appears in the trailer, squinting, stumbling, brushing off concern with stubborn pride, Tommy's face barely hides the panic beneath the surface. And that panic is something we haven't seen from him before. It's subtle, but it's there. For a man who carries grief like armor, the realization that he might lose another parent feels like a punch he's not ready to absorb. And while he tries to focus on helping Cammy, trying to clean up Cooper's mess, trying to negotiate with Galliano, the weight of his father's decline pulls him into a darker emotional space. You can almost see him fracture internally, torn between duty and fear, between the man he has to be for others and the son he never got to be for his mother. It's heartbreaking because the trailer captures microseconds of vulnerability that reveal far more than any dialogue could. This emotional weight bleeds directly into how he handles the deal with Galliano. Tommy's not just negotiating numbers, he's fighting ghosts. And Galliano, being the predator he is, senses that vulnerability. There's a chilling moment in the trailer where Galliano leans back with a look of quiet amusement, like he's studying Tommy the way a hunter studies wounded prey. Tommy tries to keep his composure, tries to speak calmly, tries to play the seasoned negotiator, but you can see the tension in his eyes. He's not just dealing with a businessman, he's dealing with someone who enjoys control, who enjoys watching powerful men struggle, and that makes the stakes feel even higher. Because if Galliano senses weakness, he will exploit it. If he senses fear, he will weaponize it. And Tommy, despite his resilience, is worn thin in episode 5, emotionally, mentally, and morally. It's the perfect time for someone like Galliano to strike, but while the emotional battles rage, the corporate chess match continues to escalate. The trailer includes a voiceover hinting that not everyone in Cammy's circle believes Tommy should handle the negotiations. Some question his judgment, some question his motives, and some simply question whether he still has the clarity needed to protect the company instead of dragging it further into danger. This creates an undercurrent of distrust that could explode at any moment. Cammy may trust Tommy, but trust is fragile when pressure is this intense. And there's a brief clip where she looks conflicted, almost worried, not just about Galliano, but about Tommy himself. She needs him, yes, but she's also beginning to realize that relying on one man to save everything is its own kind of risk. If Tommy slips, she falls with him, and that realization pushes her into a desperate emotional state that could cloud her judgment further, making episode 5 a maze of fear-driven decisions. Meanwhile, Cooper's storyline continues to intertwine with Tommy's, and not in a positive way. The trailer hints at Cooper taking a meeting behind Tommy's back, motivated by pride, insecurity, and the weight of trying to prove himself. It's reckless, it's dangerous, and it mirrors the same kind of youthful defiance that nearly destroyed Jimmy in Yellowstone. Cooper wants independence so badly that he can't see how his impatience makes him vulnerable. And if his actions collide with Tommy's already fragile situation, episode 5 could become the spark that ignites a conflict between them, one that neither of them is prepared for. Tommy may be trying to save Cammy's company, protect his father, and navigate Galliano's trap, but Cooper's impulsiveness threatens to create a disaster right under his nose. By the end of Section 3, it becomes clear that episode 5 is building toward a pressure point where every storyline, Tommy's guilt, Cammy's desperation, Cooper's ambition, and Galliano's malicious confidence collide in a way that promises irreversible consequences. The trailer doesn't scream danger, it whispers it. And somehow, that whisper feels far more terrifying. What makes episode 5 even more gripping is how the trailer suggests that all the emotional storms brewing around Tommy are about to collide in the most unpredictable way, turning what should have been a straightforward, though dangerous, business negotiation into a tangled web of betrayal, fear, and pressure that threatens to collapse on top of everyone involved. The trailer doesn't say it outright, but the energy surrounding Cammy's company feels unstable, almost like someone inside her circle is feeding information to the wrong people. There's a quiet tension that builds from the moment she admits she's drowning financially, and the way she clings to this offshore project like it's her last lifeline tells us she's vulnerable in ways she hasn't allowed herself to admit before. Vulnerability attracts predators, and Galliano isn't the only one circling. The oil world never moves in a straight line. It twists, it bends, it hides knives behind friendly smiles. So, when Cammy puts all her faith in Tommy, she unknowingly paints a target on his back too. Episode 5 seems to amplify this underlying truth. The closer Tommy gets to protecting her, the more dangerous the situation becomes for both of them. What's truly heartbreaking is how Cammy's desperation mirrors Tommy's internal wounds. She's fighting to keep the company alive, not just for business, but for the memory of her late husband. Every time she talks about losing everything, it's clear she's also talking about losing that last piece of him she still feels connected to.